had new chat apps, new teamwork applications, new social medias, new tools coming out almost every single week. Because everybody that was working for the company actually had their incentive structures aligned with launches and not with the maintenance of their core money-making systems. Google could have been a much larger company if they had their incentive structures aligned correctly. Alas, this is not the case. However, you can actually go to a website called killedbygoogle.com and find 275 instances of projects and ideas that were launched by Google and then subsequently abandoned. The reason being, like I have mentioned previously, is because the incentive structure was always aligned with the selfish desires of the individuals who were in charge of those projects. So they would launch, they would promote, they would make it look amazing, so then they could get their own promotions, their own bonuses. And of course, because there was no incentive to maintain them or provide any extra value for the people that were using these services, they were then destroyed or cancelled or whatever it was. And this is really the same type of analogy that we have for the cryptocurrency market. So when it comes to the cryptocurrency market and how their incentive structures are aligned, you can see that it's very, very similar to the way that Google managed their projects, the launch, promo, and abandon cycle. And top secret trick right here, Alpha Drop, they're all the same people. They're all the same coders from Silicon Valley. They're all the same people who know the tech, they know how to launch, they know how to gather teams together. All of these people with their specialty expertise, all the blockchain designers, they're all from these same companies. So they're very familiar with these processes and they know precisely how to get what they want. Now, the most dangerous part of all of this process, because it wouldn't be really that bad except for this one dimension of this whole process, which is the promotion part of the process. The problem here is that it's not good enough to just launch. They also need to promote as well. Now, this is where things start to fall apart for the retail traders. So you have the promotions start to come out and they tell you that it's the best thing since sliced bread. They brainwash everybody in the market to thinking that it's their secret trick, that this token project is going to change the world. It's going to moon harder than anything else you've seen before. It'll make instant millionaires from everybody that touches the project. Of course they'll tell you this, because this is where their incentives are aligned. They will post their logo everywhere. They will bribe influencers. They will pay politicians off. They'll hire celebrities. They'll slap TV ads. They will spend almost an unlimited amount of money in order to get your attention so that they can dump on your ass. Now, this is a well-known fact in the financial markets. Whenever you have a new corporation launch or a new token launch, essentially, the function of this entire project or this entire operation is to actually generate what's called exit liquidity. This is where individuals like yourself or myself, if I was subject to brainwashing like this, believe the marketing that they push to you, either through influencers who are kind of like guerrilla marketing or through direct influencers, which is familiarization with the logos and the advertising and everything. And you are then compelled to purchase these tokens and generate the buying pressure that actually sustains the price to the degree that when they are selling in the background, because their only concern, they bought these tokens as insiders for like 1 cent, and you're buying it from them at like 100, 200, 300x multiple, like $1, $2, $3, or whatever it is. I'm just making up examples, but they're using you as exit liquidity so that they can get out of their positions that they've spent, a year or two in because they were developing it behind the scenes. And now you're coming along and digging up the marketing and, appreciating it and being like, oh, this is amazing. And then they just dump on your ass and you're the one left holding the bag in the end. The point here is that you think that they're angels. You think that the marketing's fantastic. You think the project is virtuous. And then because of this marketing, you're psychologically bound to the project. You think that it's worth something. You think that maybe the community is correct because all of the deluded people kind of form groups together. And this is really bag holding personified to the highest degree, because as it starts to fall, you're in denial and you don't believe. that it could possibly go down because the marketing was so amazing, right? It was meant to change the world. However, you're still forgetting the fundamental principle that the token's existence was always to serve the insiders, and it was never to serve you in the first place. So this is where the cognitive dissonance is kind of preventing you from selling your bags even when you start to see it go down. The next major problem when it comes to altcoins, and especially bag holding, is also the excessive time-based exposure phenomenon, or this is really an application of FOMO to the highest degree. So if you have all of this marketing, or for example, just anecdotally experienced events where you're sitting there in the market and you see suddenly the price of a token that you've been watching go up by like 100x and everybody's freaking out over it, and you're like, oh my God, I didn't know that one was coming. And I hold like a whole bunch of other shit as well. So I don't know when they're going to go up as well. So I have to hold all of them. But this is wrong as well. This is a faulty mindset, because you would actually be surprised at how little time you actually need to hold altcoins in the total sum of your lifetime exposure to actually gain the benefits of altcoin pumps. And I'll show you that in the chart that follows. So if you look at the chart that I've put on the screen right now, what you'll see is the last cryptocurrency bull run that happened over 2020, 2021, and you can see that towards the end of the Bitcoin bull market, when hype was at its highest, there was only really a 50-day window, or maybe slightly wider depending on how you take your measurement, where altcoins were really pumping, where random shit was really pumping. And that was really at the tail end. So you can see there that a lot of crazy market activity was happening, but it was only at the very end. And you could have been in Bitcoin that whole way up and just simply rotated into altcoins, quadruple million timed your profit, and you would have never needed to hold your altcoins for that entire time anyway. And if we go even further out, if you zoom out and look at those 50 days over the course of that entire bull run, if you take it from the cycle bottom, those 50 days is only equivalent to 5% of the entire time that you could have been exposed to the market during that time. 5%. So ask yourself, is it really worth bag holding your altcoins for 100% of the time, especially when they go down faster than Bitcoin in a bear market, and they sustain a flat level of performance for longer during a bull market, and only at the very last second they come up? Is it really worthwhile holding them for that long? Is it really worthwhile bag holding and having excessive time-based exposure? FOMO, oh no, I don't know if it's ever going to pump. Meanwhile, your entire net worth is being degraded into oblivion. Not really. No, that's a bad way of approaching it. Altcoins and random projects are really only good at the tail end of a crypto bull market. Actually, it's more useful as a signal. So when you see altcoins starting to moon, that's generally an indication that you're starting to get towards the end of the bull market. So insider trick right there. Now, I've touched on qualitative analysis and how we generally don't use it. And the whole discussion comes up on how do we select good tokens? How do we know what's good and what isn't? Generally, we're approaching this from a quantitative standpoint, and that is the main methodology that I use to approach the cryptocurrency market, because it's very objective, it can be learned quickly. We've already covered all this stuff. However, there will be a very short course on qualitative token selection given in the investing masterclass. So stick around for that afterwards, and I'll take you through a couple of bits and pieces. It will not be exhaustive, however, it'll just give you a little bit, just enough so that you can make some good decisions for yourself, just based off my experience. So in summary, altcoins and tokens are really created so that insiders can dump on their followers and cash out so that they can make the most money possible. They're not designed for altruistic purposes, they're not designed to serve you. They have no desire to help you as an individual. They're very selfish, and that's okay, because that is the design of capitalism. That's how the market should be. Understanding this is really the magic key to having your mind unlocked so that you can realize what's kind of a player versus player market looks like. Token demand and hype is manufactured to increase the amount of demand for the tokens so that they can dump on you. And generally, one of the main memes that they use in order to force you to do this psychologically is the hodl meme. And you'll see this a lot. So never hodl. Hodling is a psyop designed by the altcoin market. It's really been adopted from the Bitcoin market as well to absolutely fuck up the most amount of retail traders possible. So don't be married to your bags. Don't become obsessed with them. Don't feel anything about them. Don't like any projects. Don't hold forever. Be very objective, be skeptical, and stay alive. It's also a good idea to remind yourself that most token projects are abandoned by the people that created them as soon as they've served their purpose. Again, this feeds back into the FOMO and the excessive time-based exposure principle. Don't go bag holding into the next bull market thinking that maybe if you hold through a whole cycle, it'll somehow benefit you, because it won't. And final point is to remember that alts pump at the tail end of bull markets most of the time, which means that you should always be holding your majors like Bitcoin and Ethereum through the majority of the bull market and then swapping into altcoins at the very end, catching a few pumps and then getting the fuck out and then never coming back to them, because remembering that they're not there to serve you. So guys, what I've covered here is all the altcoin dangers, the incentives behind the different teams, and why you shouldn't be trusting them. And hopefully, after you've learned all of this, you'll be better prepared for approaching the cryptocurrency market and making good selections about your holdings. I'll see you in the next one.